when you do that job. And when you truly become a source of irreplaceable value, you won't have to chase money anymore. Money will choose to stay because it recognizes that the frequency you emit is where it belongs. Two men born into a poor family on the outskirts of Detroit. They are twin brothers, identical in face, height, even voice. They grew up under the same roof, heard the same teachings from their parents, went through the same childhood hardships. Parents arguing over unpaid bills, skipping meals to give food to younger siblings, spending summer months washing cars to help support the family. It seemed that fate had written the same script for both. But 30 years later, they live in two completely different worlds. The older brother, named Richard, is a CEO of a tech corporation, owns his own company with over 120 employees. He lives in a quiet lakeside house, spending weekends reading, playing music, or offering free mentoring to aspiring entrepreneurs. The wealth he has built didn't come from a lucky break, but from 2 decades of persistently following a philosophy, living true to core values, acting consistently with a prosperous mindset, and continuously reinvesting in himself. The younger brother, named Robert, is a temporary warehouse worker living in a cheap rental apartment in a working-class neighborhood. He changes jobs almost every year due to conflicts with his boss, lack of living expenses, or feeling unmotivated. He has only a few dollars left in his wallet. Every time he gets paid, he immediately spends most of it on things he believes are rewards for surviving tough days. In his mind, familiar phrases constantly echo, "I'm not good at making money. Rich people are all dishonest. Money is hard to come by for someone like me." What's striking is that both Richard and Robert went to the same school. They had the same starting point, the same genes, the same external conditions. But one day, when they were both 21 years old, a conversation changed the course of their lives. That day, Richard was sitting in the library reading Think and Grow Rich. He stopped at one sentence, "Wealth begins with thought, not action." He asked himself, "If I don't change the way I think, then no matter how many skills I learn, nothing will truly change?" That night he wrote a declaration, "I will not earn money to escape poverty. I will become the kind of person money seeks because I am a true source of value." From that moment, he began radically transforming the way he thought about himself. He no longer worked just to make money, but to affirm the identity of someone who no longer lives by the programming of lack. Meanwhile, Robert went home, turned on the TV, and laughed out loud at some comedy show. He thought, "This life is good enough. Thinking too much just makes your head hurt." Every time he heard Richard talk about investing in mindset, Robert brushed it off. "You keep dreaming. I have to deal with reality." He believed he was being real, but the real he clung to was the result of an old belief that he couldn't change anything big and that money belonged to others, not to him. Many people think money comes from luck, from opportunities, from connections. But in truth, it all starts with a definition you silently assign to yourself, which you never stop to re-examine. If you believe that you are someone who just gets by, then every action, every decision, every choice you make will be governed by that identity. You will unconsciously choose jobs that are just enough, avoid risk, and reject invitations that require you to grow. On the other hand, if you believe you are someone who creates prosperity, you will behave very differently, even when you have no money in your pocket. Richard wasn't more intelligent than Robert. What he had was this: he created a new identity and lived fully with it every single day. When he had no money, he learned to feel his inner worth. When no one recognized him, he validated himself through acts of integrity. When he failed, he didn't change direction, he changed the question. What would someone with a prosperous identity do right now? And over time, the world began to treat him differently, not because of luck, but because he had become someone irreplaceable. And Robert, he still believed that if only he could catch a big opportunity, his life would change. But every time an opportunity came, he backed away. He said, "I'm not ready." Not because he lacked ability, but because the identity inside him didn't allow him to believe he was worthy. He didn't know that opportunities don't come to test your skills. They come to test whether you dare to live true to a new version of yourself. The story of these twin brothers is not rare. It's the story of millions. People who started from the same place, the same environment, but ended up living in completely different financial realities. Not because of fate, but because of a different choice, a different belief, a different identity, and the commitment to live by it regardless of circumstances. If today you're feeling lost, feeling like money is something out of reach, pause and ask yourself, who am I living as? And if the answer doesn't make you proud, don't rush to change your job, don't hurry to shift your strategy, change your identity. Then act from that identity, because in the end, you don't live according to what you want, you live according to what you believe. And only when you dare to believe that you are someone money naturally gravitates toward, will you begin to create a current the world cannot resist. You are not lacking money. You are being controlled by subconscious patterns you don't even recognize. They're not loud. They don't announce themselves. They don't ask permission. But they are the hidden architecture behind every financial decision you make. How you spend money, hold on to it, reject opportunities, or sabotage progress the moment you start to have a little extra. And the most dangerous part, you think it's just your personality, when in truth, these are programmed responses from the past, running automatically in the dark. Pattern 1, money is risk. If in the past you witnessed your family fall into debt, experienced unstable jobs, or suffered investment losses, you may associate money with danger. Every time you think about large sums of money, you don't feel excited, you feel anxious. Not because you don't want money, but because deep in your subconscious, money's tied to instability. So every time a chance to increase your income shows up, you hesitate. Every time you hold a large amount in your hands, you spend it quickly. Not because you're careless, but because your mind is trying to return to the safe zone it knows, where there's less money, but no fear of losing it. Pattern 2, I don't deserve abundance. This is one of the most common and dangerous patterns. It's often implanted when you're very young, maybe from simple phrases like, don't be greedy, we're poor but honest, or rich people are all selfish. Over time, you learn to believe that living simply, accepting less, is a kind of moral virtue. You don't realize that you're choking your own potential. When someone offers you a high salary, you feel awkward. When paid what you're truly worth, you feel uncomfortable. When you receive something good, you feel like something's off. So you end up rejecting it, destroying it, or ruining every chance at prosperity. Because deep inside, you believe you don't deserve it. Pattern 3, to get rich, you must do something unethical. If your subconscious associates money with images of deceit, greed, or corruption, then every time you start to succeed, you'll feel guilty. You begin to doubt yourself. Am I becoming like those people I used to hate? Is this money clean? Do others think I've changed because of money? So you unconsciously limit your own growth. You slow yourself down. You lower your standards. You adjust your results to be just enough so that you don't feel like you're stepping beyond the image of a good person you've clung to for so long. But the problem isn't you. The problem is you're using a faulty definition of money and locking yourself inside an outdated moral cage no one asked you to keep. Pattern 4, the more I try, the more I lose. This pattern originates from early failures. Maybe you once tried your hardest to win a scholarship and got rejected. Maybe you poured your heart into a project and were betrayed. Maybe you loved sincerely and got hurt. And from that, your mind drew a flawed conclusion. The more I hope, the more I get disappointed. The more I try, the more it hurts. This pattern makes you emotionally cold toward your own dreams. You say things like, I'm just being realistic. Money isn't everything. I don't need to be rich. Just enough is fine. But the truth is, you used to want more. You used to believe in more. Now, you're just building an invisible wall to avoid being hurt again. All of these patterns share one thing in common. They run in the background. You don't need to summon them. You just need to stay quiet, and they'll keep operating. Every day, every decision, every time you consider investing, changing careers, or stepping out of your comfort zone, they'll pull you back with the invisible gravity of your past. And if you don't stop to reprogram them, even if you change companies, industries, or partners, you'll keep living the same way, just in a new setting. If you want to change your finances, you can't just change behavior. You have to go back to the operating system, where the subconscious gives the orders and behavior simply obeys. Every time you find yourself hesitating, doubting, or ruining opportunities as they arrive, don't blame yourself. Observe the pattern that's guiding you, and then rewrite the definition. From money is dangerous to money is a reflection of the value I create. From I don't deserve to I'm learning to become more deserving each day. From wealth is deceitful to prosperity is the result of disciplined integrity. From trying leads to pain to contributing is how I live true to my highest potential. Your subconscious is not your enemy, it's your protector. It once helped you survive, but now you don't need to survive anymore. You need to thrive, and that only happens when you're no longer controlled by old patterns, but begin to reprogram yourself to become someone who can hold abundance with ease and grace. Because in the end, your finances are not the result of the job you do. They are the result of the beliefs you're no longer aware of, but that are shaping everything. It's not that you lack willpower. It's not that you don't have a plan. The problem lies in this. You are living according to an automatic system, and you don't even know when you programmed it. And that system is your subconscious. The subconscious is the deepest part of your mind. It doesn't need you to think. It just needs you to repeat. It doesn't reason. It just records, and then it replays. According to research by neuroscientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton and Benjamin Libet, up to 95% of your daily behavior is the product of the subconscious, not conscious choice. You don't really choose to wake up late, to scroll endlessly, to spend money unconsciously, to procrastinate, or to react negatively. These are all reflexes, repeated so often they've become default pathways, like lines of code in a processor. You don't see them, but they're running the whole system. The question is, where did you program that code? Since you were little. Before the age of 7, your brain mainly operated at theta frequency, a state that passively absorbs information without judgment. What you heard your parents say, what you saw them do, the emotions you witnessed around money, value, failure, success, all of it went straight into your subconscious without passing through any cognitive filter. You didn't choose them, they were implanted. And from there, they began to form the foundational truths you've acted on ever since. As you grow older, you believe you're mature because you know how to reason. But in reality, you're simply justifying behaviors that your subconscious had already shaped. If your subconscious believes money is stressful, you will unconsciously avoid high-income situations, even if you say you want to be wealthy. If your subconscious believes, I'm not good at communication, you'll act awkwardly in every negotiation, no matter how much you've trained. If your subconscious believes, I have to work twice as hard to be accepted, you'll always overexert yourself and burn out, only to return to the same spot again. The most frightening thing about the subconscious is its loyalty. It doesn't judge right or wrong. It only protects you in the way it thinks is best based on what you've repeated long enough. If you once failed while expressing yourself, the subconscious will help you stay quiet. If you were rejected for dreaming big, the subconscious will help you settle for less. It doesn't want you to get hurt again, but in doing so, it also keeps you from growing any further. And so you wake up each morning with 5% of conscious willpower to fight against 95% of programming. You write goals, you commit, you swear you'll change, but a few days later you find yourself reverting to old patterns. as if some invisible force is pulling you back. That's not because you're weak. It's because you're using your conscious mind to fight your operating system without knowing how to reprogram it. So, how do you overcome it? The first step is to observe without judgment. Each time you notice yourself reacting in a familiar way, instead of blaming yourself, ask, where is this reaction coming from? Who did I learn it from? How did it serve me in the past? And now do I still need it? Open-ended questions are the key to shining the light of consciousness into the shadows of your subconscious. The second step is to create new habits within the subconscious state. The most effective way is to repeat images, affirmations, and positive emotions while your brain is in theta waves, right after waking up in the morning or just before sleep. That's when the subconscious gateway is open. You don't just think, you feel what you want to become. You rewrite the program not with willpower, but with steady, subtle, consistent energy. The third step is to act from your new identity. The subconscious doesn't change through theory. It changes when you act consistently according to the new model, when you continuously act as a confident person, even if you're trembling at first. You're reinforcing new neural pathways. When you choose to invest in yourself instead of spending on distractions, you're giving your subconscious new proof of who I'm becoming. Change doesn't come in an instant. It comes when you courageously live differently, many times, even when your old self is struggling to pull you back. No one teaches you how to use your subconscious, but it is what's running your life. And until you step out of that default mode, you remain a product of your past. But once you face this mechanism, without avoidance, without blame, you can rewrite everything. No need to wait for luck. No need to change careers. All you need is to change how you operate at the deepest level of yourself. Because in the end, you don't live by what you know, you live by what you've programmed. And if you're sharp enough to realize 95% of each day is not destiny, it's outdated software running inside you, then you already hold the key to reprogram your entire financial, emotional, and personal future. No one is born with a default poverty code. You didn't come into this world thinking, I will live in lack. But over the years, you were programmed. And the most frightening part isn't the circumstance itself. It's the moment you begin to believe that the circumstance reflects your true worth. That's when the poverty blueprint is fully installed. Silent, subtle, but rooted so deeply you mistake it for your nature. Decoding the poverty blueprint cannot begin by merely changing behavior, because behavior is the final outcome. The blueprint is the original design. If you're living below your potential, delaying opportunities, or draining energy from vague fears about money, it doesn't mean you're incapable. It simply means you're running an old pattern, triggered daily without your awareness. And the first 3 steps to dismantling that structure are observe, identify, reconstruct. Step 1, observe. Blueprints don't live in your conscious mind. They live in your reflexes. You don't think, I'll procrastinate because I fear failure. You just scroll on your phone instead of sending the presentation. You don't think, I'm not good enough to take this project. You just politely decline and call it knowing your limits. Observation is the step that brings you back into the role of operator, not victim. Ask yourself, each time I approach a new financial opportunity, how does my body react? Where do I feel tension? What excuses do I use to avoid it? And who did I learn this reaction from? Observation is not about blaming yourself. It's about separating yourself from the pattern. When you can see it as a program, not as who you are, you begin to reclaim the power of choice. Step 2, identify. After observation, you need to name it. Patterns aren't afraid of being seen, they're afraid of being named. Because once they're named, you can analyze them. And when you analyze them, you stop identifying with them. Examples? Do you always spend everything the moment money comes in? The pattern is money comes and goes. Do you regularly decline salary raises? The pattern is I don't deserve more. Do you feel uneasy around successful people? The pattern is wealth and kindness don't coexist. Do you avoid leadership roles? The pattern is standing out brings criticism. Each of these patterns didn't arise from logic. They arose from experience, maybe from an offhand comment by an adult when you were young, maybe from the time you were shamed for dreaming big, maybe from watching someone get hurt trying to change their life. The subconscious captured that moment, attached a negative emotion to it, and built an avoidance model. Identification helps you reconnect the chain from present to past. And when you realize that a pattern is not the truth, but merely a reaction formed in a moment of limited understanding, you begin to rewrite it. Step 3, reconstruct. This is not an overnight process. Reconstructing requires you to consciously reprogram yourself every single day. How? 1, new language. Start by speaking what you want to believe, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Shift from I'm not good with money to I'm learning to manage money wisely. From I'm not used to having a lot to I'm becoming someone who naturally holds abundance. Language is a gateway for energy to enter the subconscious, and daily repetition is how you embed new messages into the deeper layers. 2, smallest new behavior. You don't need to make grand moves, just do what you used to avoid. If you hesitated to send invoices, send one today. If you avoided checking your bank balance, open it and acknowledge it without judgment. Every new action is a signal to the subconscious. I am no longer the old version of me. Repeating these small behaviors creates a new axis around which your behavioral model rotates. 3, synchronized emotion. Patterns are not just recorded through action, but through the emotion attached to it. If you try to change while still feeling heavy inside, the subconscious will keep you in place. So in every new image you visualize, attach feelings of lightness, freedom, and worthiness. Smile when thinking about money flowing in. Breathe deeply when picturing your wealthy self, without shame, without self-blame. Emotion is the glue between image and nervous system. Decoding the poverty blueprint isn't about erasing the past. It's about revisiting it from a higher level of awareness. You're no longer the child who was rejected for asking for money. You're no longer the person who failed during their first business attempt. You are now someone mature enough to rewrite everything with mindful observation, accurate identification, and intentional reconstruction. And if you're patient with yourself, every day you'll discover the poverty blueprint is not a sentence, it's a program. And every program can be rewritten if you're willing to look directly at it, name it, and live as though you've already become someone new. Money doesn't like being chased. It doesn't respond to pressure, fear, or pleading. It moves with energy. And the rich don't become wealthy because they chase money at all costs. They become rich because they know how to create space for money to arrive. They don't cling, they receive. And that act of receiving is the real skill no one talks about. Most people grow up inside a distorted framework. To have money, you must chase after it relentlessly. Chase the rich, chase opportunities, chase praise, chase ambition without knowing when to stop. But the more you chase, the farther you get, because deep down you're emitting a frequency of lack. And money doesn't stay where lack resides. It stays with an inner state that knows it's worthy of receiving. Observe someone who is truly wealthy. They're not rush in speech, not frantic in action. They don't beg for money. They give value, and they allow that value to return as a natural law. Because in their operating system, money is the result, not the goal. They know that if they are a strong enough source of value, Money will come, and if it comes at the right time, in the right way, it will stay for a long time. In contrast, when you're in a chasing state, you lose clarity. You cheapen your time. You sacrifice personal boundaries. You lower your worth just to gain a few dollars up front. You say, I need money, without realizing that this very statement has locked you into the role of a beggar, not an attractor. And in that state, you're pushing money away, even if you think you're getting closer. So what does it mean to receive money? First, it means allowing yourself to be the one who holds money. Many dream of wealth, but their subconscious hasn't given permission. They fear jealousy, exploitation, slander, pressure. They believe wealth will bring negative consequences. So, unconsciously, they reject money before it even knocks. Receiving doesn't come from logic. It comes from a deep inner agreement that says, I am safe with money. I don't have to sacrifice dignity or lose myself to keep money around. The rich understand. Money merely amplifies essence. If you are good, money will make you kinder. If you live with purpose, money will make you more powerful in pursuing that purpose. Second, it means accepting what you deserve without guilt. Have you ever been paid generously for something and instantly felt uneasy? You lower your worth when someone calls your product expensive. You steer clients toward cheaper packages even when they're ready to pay more. That's not humility. That's rejecting reception, and the rich don't do that. They give generously, but they receive fully because they understand the universe requires fair circulation. You can't only inhale without exhaling, and you can't only give without receiving. Balanced reception is the sign of a healthy system. Third, it means neither worshiping money nor treating it as an enemy. The poor often fall into one of two extremes, either idolizing money to the point of losing themselves or hating it and calling it the root of all evil. Both are wrong. The rich see money like oxygen. Important, but not everything. They don't depend on it. But they also don't reject it. They let money serve their goals without letting it control them. And because of that, money feels safe with them. It stays because it is respected but not deified. If you're living in a state where you must fight for every opportunity, every paycheck, every step forward, ask yourself, what frequency am I sending out? Is it lack? Is it fear? Is it self-doubt? If so, it's not your fault. It's a sign that you haven't yet learned how to receive. And no one ever taught you that in school, but you can begin again. Today, with 3 small actions. 1, declare clearly every morning, I am the one money seeks. I am the one money seeks. 2, observe your emotions when money comes in. If you feel fear, guilt, or unworthiness, sit down and write it out. That's a pattern that needs to be undone. 3, practice giving and receiving without guilt. When someone compliments you, don't downplay it. When someone gives you something, receive it with gratitude, not awkwardness. When you state your service price, say it with confidence, not hesitation. The rich are not luckier than you. They are just more refined in how they operate internally. They understand that money is energy, and energy flows to where it is welcomed, not where it is merely demanded. If you want to be rich, don't try to force money to chase you. Make yourself a worthy destination. So money finds you, stays with you, and multiplies. Because ultimately, wealth doesn't begin with an action. It begins with a state where you no longer chase money, but learn to receive it naturally. The space within you is the very first factor that determines whether money can enter your life or not. Don't think about your bank account yet. Don't think about the amount of money you need. Think about the space you've prepared, or haven't. Because one simple truth often overlooked is this: money cannot enter a place already crammed with old energy, limiting beliefs, negative emotions, and worn-out behaviors. The prosperity space is not an empty void. It is an intentional state created to invite money, opportunities, and value into your life. The rich don't try to fill every moment with work. They know how to create room, and it is from that room that new ideas arrive. New relationships are born. Unexpected income flows in. The universe doesn't operate like a marketplace where you scream to get someone's attention. It works like a field. You have to till the soil, clear the weeds, and only then can good seeds be planted. So, what is the prosperity space? First, it is space in your mind. A mind occupied by worry, judgment, and money obsessions cannot receive the subtle signals of opportunity. You cannot perceive chances when your mind is programmed with thoughts like, I can't, this probably isn't for me, money is out of reach. Observe what you think when you wake up each morning. Is it a stream of abundant beliefs or a list of invisible fears? Sweep out that mental dust every day. Meditate in silence for 10 minutes. Write down 3 things you are open to receiving today. Create a mental space where your intuition has a chance to speak. Second, it is space in your emotions. Many people carry unhealed wounds, rejection from the past, being used for money, getting hurt from a failed investment. These experiences accumulate into suppressed emotions. And you cannot receive a new flow of abundance if your emotions are in turmoil. Remember, money isn't just numbers, it carries energy, and it feels whether you are emotionally stable enough to hold on to it. Practice forgiveness, not to bring peace to others, but to reclaim your own inner space. Each negative emotion you release is 1 square meter of soil you clear so money can step in. Third, it is space in your schedule and behaviors. Don't cram every hour of your day with fake busyness. Money doesn't come to the busiest person. It comes to the one who can recognize the right moment. And you cannot recognize if your mind is always in a race. The rich know how to create white space in their schedules, not just to rest, but to observe. A morning without meetings to read 1 page of a book might give rise to $1 million mindset. An afternoon without taking on another project might open up a life-changing connection. Cross off 1 familiar but meaningless task each day. That's how you create a clean hallway for wealth to enter. Fourth, it is space in your physical environment. Are you living in a space full of old items, messy papers, unused belongings? That's a signal to your subconscious that you're holding on to the past and there's no room for the new. The rich don't need to live in extreme minimalism, but they understand that every object holds energy, and if your environment contains too many things that don't serve your future goals, you're being anchored by the past. Start with a drawer, a corner of your desk, a tiny section in your wallet. Each time you clean, you are making a declaration to the universe. I am ready to receive more. Creating space does not make you poorer. It makes you more streamlined to attract what is right. Just like a glass must have empty space for water to be poured in, your life needs white space for good things to happen. The best financial masters always set aside time for doing nothing, not to procrastinate, but to reconnect with something more important than action, the inner state of readiness. And you can practice this every day. Each morning before turning on your phone, spend 5 minutes clearing mental clutter. Write down the negative thoughts haunting you and burn them. Take a conscious break from thought. Each week, choose 1 item that no longer represents the person you want to become and let it go. Each month, dedicate 1 day to doing nothing and simply observe. Which habits are blocking your flow? Who is occupying space in your life, but not helping you get closer to your wealthier self? Money doesn't come to the person willing to do everything. It comes to the one who's willing to clear the way first. And the space you create today, it's not just for money to step in. It's for you to step out of your old role, out of the scarcity pattern, and into the life of someone ready to receive abundance. Every thought you think doesn't just exist in your mind. It emits waves. It leaves an electromagnetic imprint in your energy field. And if you know how to use meditation correctly, not as a momentary relaxation technique, but as a tool for intentional brainwave programming, you'll discover something strange. You begin to attract money without having to chase it. Most people meditate without knowing what they're doing. They close their eyes, try not to think, and then blame themselves for not finding peace. But those who understand the laws of abundance don't meditate to relieve stress. They meditate to synchronize themselves with the frequency money vibrates on. They know that if they change their brain waves, they'll change their magnetic field. And if they change their magnetic field, they'll attract completely different outcomes than before. So how can meditation not only bring you peace, but also bring you wealth? Step 1, choose the right brainwave frequency. In the beta state, where you work, feel, stress, and constantly think, your brain operates at a frequency of 1430 hertz. This is where logic is processed, but it's not where financial attraction happens. To broadcast a prosperous signal, you need to lower your state to alpha waves or theta waves or 440 hertz. This is where intuition is activated, the subconscious becomes programmable, and alignment with the flow of the universe begins. You enter the realm of creativity. And there, money is no longer something external. It becomes a reflection of the energy you're radiating. Step 2, visualize. But not just with images. Many people hear about visualization, picturing what they want, and assume that simply imagining the car, the house, or a bank account full of money is enough. Wrong. The universe doesn't respond to images. It responds to the actual inner state you feel when imagining those things. If you visualize having 10 billion, but inside you feel doubt, fear, or like you're faking it, that's the signal you're sending out. And that's what you'll get back, more lack. Instead, visualize in the theta state and amplify the emotion of already having it as much as possible. You don't need to see every detail clearly. Just feel as if it's already real. Feel the trust, the fulfillment, the freedom. At that point, you're not imagining, you're commanding your magnetic field. Step 3, send positive commands to the subconscious. In the first 15 minutes after entering a deep meditative state, the subconscious opens like a door. This is the time to plant the right affirmations, like installing software into an operating system. Don't say, "I will be rich." That puts you in the future and keeps your present self in lack. Say, "I am living in abundance. I attract money naturally. Money loves my present." And these affirmations are not just words. They are energy codes you are embedding into the information field around you. And when you repeat them enough times, they become the new default in your unconscious operating system. Step 4, connect the body. Don't think meditation is only about the mind. If your body is tense, contracted, anxious, then the signal you're sending out is still danger, not safe, not ready. Use deep breathing. Bring awareness to each part of your body and release the tension. When you feel safe within yourself, you're creating the ideal environment for money to come. Money doesn't flow to the tense. It flows to those who have become a safe space for prosperous energy to reside. Step 5, practice regularly, like a millionaire ritual. Don't meditate when you have time. Meditate like you brush your teeth. A non-negotiable ritual. The wealthy know that the external world is just a reflection of the inner state. They prioritize their inner space just as they prioritize financial investment, because they understand if you don't set the right magnetic field, every external action becomes a form of resistance. You don't need to meditate for 2 hours a day, just 15-20 minutes each morning when you're still drifting between dream and reality, or before sleep, when the boundary between conscious and subconscious becomes blurred. These are golden moments. Use them to completely shift the energy you emit into the world. Remember, you are not compensated based on effort. You are compensated based on frequency. And frequency isn't found in words or outer actions. It lives in your biology, emotions, and inner vibration that you maintain daily. Meditation is a way for you to tune yourself to the exact frequency where wealth is already waiting. And once you access that state, you no longer need to wait for money to come. It will come. Because from that moment on, you are no longer someone searching for wealth. You are the living embodiment of prosperity. You don't need to ask others what they think of your worth. Just look at your current income. The amount of money you're attracting is the clearest reflection of how you value yourself, not through your words, but through the unconscious signals you emit each day. Money doesn't judge you. It simply reflects the inner judgment you hold about yourself. If you believe you only deserve a fixed amount each month, that becomes the limit money will obey. If you believe you must work extremely hard and suffer to earn your reward, money will come according to that very struggle-based model. It doesn't choose you just because you're kind, diligent, or ethical. It chooses you when you have enough confidence to broadcast an undeniable message. I am someone who deserves to be richly rewarded. You cannot attract an abundant life if, deep down, you still carry feelings of unworthiness. A person who constantly says, I just need enough to get by, I'm not good with numbers, or I don't need much, isn't being humble. They are programming their subconscious to believe they are not worthy of having more, and money hears those silent commands loud and clear. You don't need to shout, you just need to feel strongly, and money will respond as the most honest mirror. Try looking back at your financial decisions in the past. Did you ever turn down an opportunity because you thought, I'm not ready yet? Did you ever accept a lower offer because you were afraid to negotiate? Did you ever do more work than others but hesitate to ask for fair compensation? None of that was because of the market. It was because of the image you held of your own worth in your mind. To change your financial results, you don't need to acquire new skills first. You need to update your inner image. You need to stand before a mirror each day, not the one on your wall, but the financial mirror in your life, and ask, what does my current income say about what I believe I'm worth? The answer may shock you, but it is the beginning of true freedom. Wealthy people don't just work more efficiently, they believe their time has value, their presence has value, their ideas have value. And because of that belief, they emit a magnetic field that makes others willing to pay more. They don't need to act important, because in their minds, importance is already a default setting. If you want to raise your financial level, start by elevating how you speak about yourself, how you see yourself, how you treat yourself. Don't bargain with yourself every morning. Don't automatically choose the cheapest option just because you think you don't deserve higher quality. Start with small choices. Select a better item. Hold a more confident posture. Walk into a room with the awareness that I bring value wherever I go. And more importantly, don't wait until you have money to start feeling valuable. Live as someone of value now, and money will come as an inevitable result. This isn't pretending. This is reprogramming from within, shifting from someone who seeks validation to someone who knows exactly who they are. If you've ever seen someone earning 10 times more than you, don't be envious. Ask yourself, what inside them makes them believe they deserve that level? And then answer, I can learn that. I can choose to see myself differently. Money doesn't come to make you happy. It comes to reflect the invisible valuation you've assigned to yourself. And if you dare to raise that valuation, not because you're perfect, but because you're committed to living in alignment with your true value, then the flow of money will shift, not because you try harder, but because you've stopped denying your true worth. You can start today. No need to wait for approval, no need to increase your income right away. Just begin by examining every transaction, every comment you make about money, every thought you have when you look into your wallet, and ask, how much am I showing the universe that I'm worth? The mirror never lies. And fortunately, you always have the power to change the image in the mirror. Starting from within, you don't need to change your whole life overnight. But if you dare to change the frequency of energy you emit intentionally for 7 consecutive days, you'll begin to witness things that seem random, an unexpected opportunity, an invitation from somewhere you never imagined, a coincidence that defies conventional logic. It's not because the outside world has changed, but because your internal financial field has started broadcasting on a new frequency, and the world is simply responding to a signal you had never sent before. On the first day, you do nothing except observe. Every time you think about money, talk about money, or touch money, notice your internal reaction. No judgment, no correction. Just honestly witness the real emotion. Is it anxiety, fear, insecurity, or a sense of lack? Only when you face the signal you're currently broadcasting can you begin to change it. On the second day, you begin clearing the old signals. Sit quietly by yourself and write down all the limiting beliefs you've ever heard, believed, or repeated in your mind. To be rich, you must cheat. I don't know how to manage money. Yeah, I don't need much, just enough to get by. Every statement you write is a thread that has unconsciously tied you down. When you've finished writing, read each line and silently say, I choose not to carry this anymore. It's not just symbolic, it's a frequency cut with the past, allowing you to reset the map for your future signal. On the third day, you create a new image. Visualize a different version of yourself, a person living in abundance, calm, without rushing, without money stress. Not a grand fantasy, but a natural, light, and deserving state. Hold that image in your mind each morning upon waking. Every time you prepare to spend money, each time you step into a space where you want to elevate your worth. Don't hope for anything to change immediately. Just broadcast that image with deep conviction. This is the real me. I'm returning to my original frequency. On the fourth day, you act. Nothing drastic is needed. A small, symbolic act is enough. Paying a bill with gratitude instead of resentment. Giving away a small amount of money intentionally. Declining a job that no longer reflects your true worth. Any action is a signal, and that action tells your subconscious you've made a new choice. On the fifth day, you look into the mirror, not to check your appearance, but to declare your true nature. I am a person of value, and money is the natural response to the value I bring. You might feel awkward, but don't stop. The subconscious doesn't need evidence. It only needs repetition. And one day you'll notice your body begins to believe what you're saying because you've said it more often than you've fed your fear. On the sixth day, you clean your space, not for physical tidiness, but because your field needs a place to reside. An old wallet, cluttered bills, a messy desk, all are echoes of the chaotic energy within you. Clean, not for others, but to show yourself you're preparing to receive something bigger. Prosperity doesn't enter where stagnant energy lives. It needs space, and you are the one who opens that door. On the seventh day, you do nothing but give thanks. Sit still, breathe deeply, and give thanks, not just for what you have, but for what has yet to come that you believe is already on its way. Thank you that I have changed. Thank you that new financial flow is finding its path to me. Thank you that I am living in the frequency I've chosen. When you give thanks for no reason, you've entered a completely different vibrational state, the state of someone who isn't waiting to become, but who is already embodying what they desire. You cannot fake broadcasting a new signal. The universe doesn't respond to pretense, but if you truly live in alignment with what you've chosen, for just 7 days uninterrupted, you will begin to feel a movement rising from deep within. No one needs to validate it. No miracle is required. Because the real miracle isn't outside, it lies in the moment you dare to believe, I can recalibrate the financial frequency of my life. Starting from within, starting now. You don't need to wait for success to start acting like a successful person. In fact, it is precisely by behaving as if you've already achieved what you desire that you create a reality aligned with it. Every decision you make is a directive sent to your subconscious, and the subconscious will do everything in its power to keep you consistent with the image you've chosen to live by. When you make decisions from fear, you're telling your subconscious that you are small, lacking, and unworthy. But when you make decisions from belief in your future self, you send a powerful signal. I already am that person. I'm simply living in accordance with my true nature. And your financial field will begin to shift in that direction. Imagine this: if you were already a successful person with financial freedom and solid self-worth, how would you handle your current problem? How would you respond to rejection? Which project would you choose among vague opportunities? Would you dare to decline a small gain to uphold your long-term value? The truth is, most people make decisions from a place of fear. They ask, what if I get it wrong? Or what if I lose money? But successful people don't frame questions that way. They ask, what will I lose in the long run if I don't dare to do this? Or is this choice consistent with the person I'm becoming? This shift in questioning is what creates the shift in outcome. The subconscious can't tell what is real from what is imagined. It only responds to the emotional signals you repeatedly send. So if every morning you wake up and live as someone who's still struggling to make ends meet, you're simply replaying the old signal and drawing in the same old results. But if you start practicing living as someone confident, abundant, and wise, even if you don't yet have it all, then that very state begins to redraw the map of your life. Action is not the result of success, it is the foundation of it. You don't need to spend money like the rich, but you can choose how you manage time, respond to failure, and speak to yourself as someone who knows their value and trusts the path they've chosen. When faced with obstacles, the average person looks for an excuse to retreat. Someone acting from the future sees the challenge as a signal to optimize, not something to avoid. When they see others succeed, those trapped in jealousy think they're just lucky. But those living from the future think, that's a reflection of what's waiting for me if I keep moving forward. Strangely enough, when you act as if you've already succeeded, the choices you make begin to change. You no longer accept offers that compromise long-term value. You invest in what elevates you rather than what offers temporary emotional relief. You learn to say no clearly and yes selectively. Every step you take, no matter how small, carries a steady vibration. I'm living from past memories. I'm living from the future I've already chosen. This is not delusion. This is how you reprogram yourself through behavior. You don't need to wait for belief to begin. It's consistent behavior that creates solid belief. Just like an actor stepping onto the stage, at first they are only playing the role. But after hundreds of rehearsals, they no longer have to pretend. They become the role, naturally, effortlessly. So do you. If you consistently act like the person you wish to become, eventually you will no longer be trying. You will be that version in every decision, every word, every energy you radiate. The most important question isn't how do I get money? The real question is who will I be when I have money? And do I dare to live as that person starting right now? If your answer is yes, then every step you take will begin to resonate with the reality you are moving toward. You're not chasing success, you are living success, and that is what causes all the right opportunities to find you, not by chance, not by luck, but because you've recalibrated the route, your frequency of presence. And the world cannot ignore a signal that is broadcast with such clarity, commitment, and wholeness. You're not truly chasing money, you're seeking a state of being. That state may be called freedom, peace, worthiness, or abundance. But when you mistake money as the destination, you begin to sacrifice too much. And in the end, you lose the very feeling you thought you'd gain once a certain number appeared in your account. Financially mature individuals never see money as salvation. They understand Money is merely an indicator reflecting the level of inner maturity. And for that reason, wealth is not a goal. It is the inevitable, unstoppable result of someone who has mastered themselves from within. The information to protect. You can see this clearly when observing people who have won the lottery or unexpectedly inherited large fortunes. Within just a few years, most return to their starting point. Some even go bankrupt. Why? Because the external flow of money surpassed their internal capacity to receive and manage it. They were not mature enough to govern, sustain, or expand that flow. And money, like a powerful stream, will leave any place that lacks inner boundaries. Now you understand why some people earn a lot yet constantly feel anxious, afraid, and lost? It's because their inner world still lives in a state of scarcity, even if the outside appears abundant. Inner maturity doesn't come from age. It comes from your ability to recognize the true motive behind your actions, your capacity to take responsibility without excuses, and your willingness to sit with fear instead of letting it lead. A person may appear to be chasing success, but in truth, they're just trying to prove their worth to their parents. Another might be investing in finance, but their deepest drive is fear. Fear of poverty, fear of abandonment, fear of not being respected. If you haven't purified your motives, even when money arrives, you won't keep it for long, because your subconscious is still broadcasting from a frequency of insecurity. Conversely, those who are truly wealthy begin from within. They invest in clarity instead of just strategies. They develop inner strength instead of merely enhancing skills. They don't need to shout to prove their worth, because their presence already carries an energy that inspires trust. When a person is clear, consistent, and awake, money will naturally flow toward them. No manipulation needed, no schemes required. Their energy field is strong enough to resonate with high-quality opportunities, people on the same frequency, and resources that match the values they emit. Inner maturity is when you can say no to things that don't align, even if they're tempting. When you dare to stay still in the gap without results, instead of rushing into cheap choices to fill your unease. When you know you don't need success to feel worthy. You are worthy even during the journey of becoming. And it is that feeling which sustainably attracts all good things toward you. You want to be truly wealthy? Ask yourself, how mature are you in the way you respond to failure? Do you still blame circumstances or others? Or have you learned to find a lesson and move forward with a student's mindset? Do you have the patience to sow seeds without demanding an immediate harvest? Can you uphold your values when no one praises or recognizes you? If your answer is yes, you've gone further than most can see. And most importantly, when you focus on becoming a better version of yourself, instead of merely trying to have more, then money, relationships, health, and recognition will come as secondary rewards. You don't have to chase them, because the energy of someone who has matured internally will always attract external abundance. Not because they're lucky, but because they are aligned at the root. Inner strength is the only asset no one can take from you. And when you invest deeply enough in it, everything else falls into place. That's why Napoleon Hill said, you must become the person who can attract success before you can actually have success. The question isn't where you are right now. The question is, which direction are you growing in, and are you willing to commit fully to true inner growth? Wealth is not the destination. It is the sign that you are on the right inner journey. And when you begin to live as someone who clearly knows what matters, what's real and what's aligned, you'll no longer need to force success. You just need to keep expanding from within. Everything else will arrive as an unavoidable consequence. No seed sprouts immediately after being sown. All sustainable life begins in darkness. You may not see the process, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Just like when you plant a bamboo seed, it can take up to 5 years just to grow a few inches above ground. But throughout that entire time, It's silently building a vast root system underneath, preparing for an explosive growth that no one can stop. Life is the same. Every great transformation requires a beneath the soil phase, a time when you learn, adjust, fail, and mature in silence. But most people quit right in this phase. They think they've taken the wrong path, when in fact the tree is simply taking time to root. They strain to see immediate results instead of staying centered and continuing to nourish the process. They rush to judge themselves for not having external achievements, forgetting that inner change is the essential foundation. And so they uproot the seed before its roots have a chance to anchor, just because they lack the patience to trust the process. If you're in a stage where no one is praising you, no one is noticing, there's no money coming in, no clear milestones, understand this: it's not failure. It's compression before expansion. You're not behind. You're building the base. And when the base is strong enough, you won't have to rush upward to prove anything. You will stand firm and rise naturally, without strain, without pretense. Growth time is not the time to gain. It's the time to become. Become someone deep enough to absorb the lesson, awake enough not to react automatically, humble enough to start over when necessary, and then, one day, you'll step into the light, no longer a copy of anyone else, but the original version of yourself, grounded, clear, unhurried. You can't force time to bloom. All you can do is tend the soil, water it, remove the weeds from your mind, and trust that if you sow the right seed the right way at the right time, then sprouting is inevitable. But if you interrupt the process, doubt yourself, and keep changing paths out of fear, you'll ruin the seed before it even has a chance to grow. Maturity is learning to stay with the days that show no signs, yet still believe as if something beautiful is on its way. The universe doesn't operate on your schedule. It follows the law of maturation. Every real success must pass through a winter where you see nothing, but are quietly preparing for a great harvest. If you're studying, practicing, failing, doubting yourself, but still moving forward, then you're in the right place. Don't withdraw. Don't demand quick results. Keep sowing with the dedication of someone who knows no process is meaningless. Every small silent step is accumulating strength for a future leap. There's a strange power that only comes to those who have the patience to remain in darkness without losing their way. It's inner strength, the force that will protect you from arrogance when success comes and from panic when adversity hits. When you learn to respect the growth period, you'll no longer be hasty nor envious of others, because you know everyone is on their own process. And any flower that blooms in its rightful season will shine brightly without comparison. As Napoleon Hill emphasized, success never precedes preparation. If you're in the preparation phase, be grateful for it. Don't try to bloom when you don't have roots yet. Don't try to harvest when you haven't truly sown with commitment. Don't rush to judge yourself by your current outer state. Because the greatest thing is happening within you, day by day, hour by hour, and when the time comes, you won't need to shout to be heard. Life itself will make way for those who have quietly prepared long enough, deep enough, and truthfully enough. Honoring the phase beneath the soil is proof that you are mature enough for wealth, because only when you no longer need to hurry, no longer need to show off, no longer need to prove, are you truly strong. And in that strength, money, opportunities, credibility, trust will come as natural consequences, not because they are given to you, but because you've grown deep enough to be worthy of them. Money is not paper. It is also not just a number in your bank account. Money is a form of energy, like electricity, like light, like magnetism. And like all other forms of energy, it moves through the principle of resonance. Whatever signal you emit, it will respond to that exact frequency. If you constantly send out signals of fear, scarcity, and doubt, then no matter how hard you work, Money will approach hesitantly or arrive and then disappear. Conversely, if you emit a frequency of abundance, trust, gratitude, and readiness to receive, then money will not only come, it will stay. Throughout this journey, you have walked through principles that are not new but often forgotten, that money does not respond merely to actions, but to the energy beneath those actions. That you do not need to chase money, you need to synchronize with it. That saying, "I don't have money," is not a harmless phrase, but a signal commanding the universe on how much prosperity you allow into your life. And that every effort to improve your financial situation from the outside is useless if inside you're still operating from the old patterns: fear of being wrong, fear of lack, fear of loss. You've learned to observe your true emotions whenever you think about money, because that is the most honest indicator of the frequency you're broadcasting. You've come to understand that every intentional action, from your thoughts, your words, to your reactions, is constantly sending signals outward. And if you want to change the response you get from the world, you must begin within. Change your energy, change your signal, change how you define yourself and your worth. Because money does not come to make you feel valuable. It comes because you've already become valuable enough to hold it without losing yourself. Money arrives when you live in alignment with the role of a true value creator, without gimmicks, without needing to prove anything. When you live as someone who knows who they are serving, what they are offering the world, and who is consistent with their deepest values, then money doesn't need to be lured in. It will come on its own, because the energy you emit becomes the most refined invitation to every opportunity on the same frequency. You've also seen the truth that truly wealthy people are not always the ones who work the hardest, but those who think and act from a different frequency. They are not pulled by fear. They do not make decisions out of urgency. They do not rush into every opportunity out of fear of missing out. They choose from a place of inner clarity. They say no more than they say yes, because they understand not every money stream is worthy of the energy they've cultivated for years. And that very discernment makes money come as a reward, not as an illusion to be chased. Where you are on this journey doesn't matter. What matters is, what signal will you emit from now on? No one can block the flow of money from coming to you if you are clear, clean, and mature enough to receive it as a steward, not a dependent. You don't need to shout, "I need money." You need to live as someone who already knows they are worthy of prosperity. You don't need to beg. You need to resonate, because energy never lies, and life never betrays those who transmit truthfully. The most important question now is no longer, how do I get money? But what signal am I sending out every day? Are you acting from a frequency of abundance, or still being pulled by old patterns you haven't yet seen? Are you speaking about money with a tone of gratitude, or with the heaviness of fear? Do you dare invest in yourself first, instead of continuing to hope the world gives you results immediately? The entire process you've walked through up to this point can be distilled into one core principle. Money is the most honest feedback about the frequency you are living at. And the miracle is, you can change that frequency at any time. All it takes is your willingness to clear your thoughts, redefine your identity, and live as if you are already whole. Not pretending, not performing for results, but living in alignment with your true potential, so that everything else becomes just a natural consequence. Money doesn't respond to prayers, it responds to signals. And you are the one transmitting that signal every second of every day. You were never meant to chase money. You were not born to be someone who begs for prosperity to enter your life. From the moment you begin to recognize your true inner worth, you are no longer the seeker. You are the current. You are the transmitter and receiver. You are the place where prosperity flows naturally, effortlessly, without having to prove anything. When you live from a place of inner clarity, when you act from a true sense of abundance, not just in your words, but in every reaction, every choice, you don't need to run after money because money will begin to move through you like an unobstructed stream. Prosperity only needs a clean, clear, undistorted channel. And if you've come this far, if you've restructured your thinking, released old patterns, and dared to live as someone worthy of good things, then you are that channel. Money has no emotions. It simply responds. It flows to the place where matching energy is being consistently emitted. When you still think, I have to find money, I have to work hard to get it, you are unintentionally playing the role of someone disconnected from the current of prosperity, as if it is outside of you, as if you must earn the right to receive it. But in truth, money does not come because you are rewarded or lucky. It comes because you are living like a river, clean enough for water to flow through, without leaking, without blockage, without being driven by fear or doubt. You don't need more get-rich tricks. You need to live by a single principle. I am the place where prosperity is allowed to pass through, to stay, to multiply, and continue flowing. When you stop limiting yourself with outdated definitions like I must be better than others, I must win this game, I must have more to feel safe, you begin to access an energy level very few people reach, the frequency of groundedness. From there, you become someone who no longer demands, but simply receives, no longer panics when money is slow to arrive, but understands that everything is being arranged in a timeline far more perfect than anything you could plan. Like a forest that does not search for rain, but knows how to hold water when the rain comes. You don't need to search. You need to be ready to receive. And this readiness does not come from blind belief. It comes from the work you've done to clear away fears, poverty patterns, invisible limits you once carried from childhood or absorbed from society. You've dared to look inward. Dared to admit it's not that you lack talent, it's that you lacked inner alignment. And once you've truly achieved that, you no longer need to do anything special. Your presence is already enough. Maybe you haven't seen a big change in your bank account yet. Maybe people around you still doubt. Maybe you're not yet in the spotlight. But if something inside you has shifted, if you're truly emitting a new frequency, then everything else is just a matter of time. And remember, you don't have to wait until you have a lot of money to live like someone who is wealthy. It's the very act of choosing to live as someone worthy in how you speak, how you act, how you decide, that opens the door for money to begin flowing in. You don't chase money, you align with it. You don't possess prosperity, you are the place through which prosperity flows and multiplies. When you understand this, you will no longer be shaken by short-term fluctuations. You will no longer flinch when a large expense arises. You will no longer be controlled by the fear of enough or not enough, because you know the current never stops flowing as long as you keep your inner world clean. No panic, no force, no demands. Prosperity will always return. Napoleon Hill once said, you cannot have anything you don't first become in your mind, and now after everything you've been through, you are no longer someone trying to become prosperous, you are already prosperity. Because you have chosen to live from within, you have chosen to trust the process. You have chosen to be the sower, not the one waiting to reap, and from that, what you seek is no longer how much money, but how many lives can be transformed through the current flowing through me? That is when you are truly wealthy. Not because of a number, but because of essence. Not to prove, but because you've understood who you are. Not to possess, but because you've become one with the law. And that is a kind of wealth no one can take from you, not changing markets, not crashing economies, not even the wildest storms. Because you are no longer the one chasing. You are the source where everything begins. You are the channel, you are the current, you are the one holding the key to your own life, and you are ready to live that way forever.